Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! Caden stood in the hushed confines of his apartment, the click of the bathroom lock punctuating the silence. His reflection in the mirror captured a blend of apprehension and intense curiosity. Numerous cosmetic items lay spread across the counter, each a forbidden treasure purloined from his sister's private sanctuary. With unsteady hands, he selected a tube of foundation, replicating the familiar movements of Sophia's makeup routine. His first attempt at application was a chaotic affair, leaving a patchwork of opaque residue in some spots, while barely making an appearance in others. The eyeliner went on crooked, and the mascara clumped his lashes together in odd spikes. Still, there was something about seeing his features softened that made his heart race with excitement. A sudden knock at the door made him jump. "Caden, are you in there? I need to get ready for work!" Sophia's voice called through the door. "Just a minute!" Panic surged through him as he frantically grabbed tissues and began wiping at his face. But makeup, as it turned out, didn't come off as easily as it went on. The more he scrubbed, the worse it became, smearing into a muddy mess across his cheeks and around his eyes. Another knock, more insistent this time. "Seriously, I'm going to be late!" When the door finally opened, Caden stood there, face still streaked with the remnants of his attempt, eyes wide with embarrassment. Sophia stared at him, her expression shifting from irritation to surprise. "Are you wearing my makeup?" I wasn't... The words jumbled in his throat. For a terrible moment, she said nothing, her eyes scanning his face. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. Not a cruel laugh, but one of recognition. "Oh my God, you look like a raccoon that got into a cosmetics counter." She pushed past him into the bathroom, examining the scattered products. "And you've been using the expensive stuff too. No wonder my foundation's been disappearing so quickly." Caden's face burned with shame.
"I'm sorry. I'll pay you back."
Sophia turned to him, her expression softening. "This isn't the first time, is it?" Unable to meet her eyes, he shook his head. "How long?" "A few months," he admitted quietly. "Whenever you're not home." She studied him for a long moment. "You know, if you're going to do it, you might as well learn to do it properly. You're honestly terrible at this." The words weren't what he expected. He looked up, confused. "Come to my room tonight after dinner," she said, wetting a cloth with makeup remover. "I'll show you how to contour without looking like you fell face first into my makeup bag." That evening, after their parents had gone to bed, Caden hesitantly knocked on Sophia's bedroom door. She opened it immediately, as if she'd been waiting. "Come in," she said, glancing down the hallway to make sure no one was watching. "I've got everything set up." Her room was always a stark contrast to his own. Neat where his was chaotic, decorated in soft pastels where his walls remained bare. Tonight, her vanity had been transformed into what looked like a professional makeup station. "Sit," she instructed, pointing to the chair in front of the mirror. As he settled in, she circled him, examining his face from different angles. "You've got good bone structure, actually. High cheekbones. That'll make this easier." She pulled open a drawer and took out a pink blouse. "Here, put this on first."
"No point doing your face if you're just going to smear everything when you change."
Caden took the garment, holding it awkwardly.
"Are you sure about this?"
"Do you want my help or not?" There was no judgment in her voice, just practicality. He nodded, and slipped into the bathroom to change. The blouse felt silky against his skin, lightweight and cool. Looking in the mirror, he saw how it hung loosely on his frame, designed for curves he didn't have. Yet somehow, it felt right. When he returned, Sophia had laid out several more items. These will help complete the look. A white pencil skirt was placed on the bed. "I won't fit into that," he protested. "Try it," she insisted. "You're skinnier than I am anyway." To his surprise, it did fit, hugging his hips in a way that made them appear more pronounced. Sophia sat him down again, examining his face in the vanity lights. "First rule of makeup, start with a clean canvas." She handed him a facial wipe. "Remove any oils from your skin." For the next hour, she guided him through each step. She explained how different foundation formulas worked, how to use concealer to hide the shadow of facial hair, how contouring could soften angular features and create the illusion of more feminine lines. "See how I'm darkening here," she demonstrated, blending a shade darker than his skin tone beneath his cheekbones. "And highlighting here?" She applied a shimmery product to the tops of his cheekbones. "It changes the way light hits your face." Caden watched in fascination as his reflection began to transform. The person in the mirror became increasingly unfamiliar, yet somehow more authentic. "Now for eyes," Sophia said, selecting several brushes. "This is where most people mess up. Eyeliner isn't about drawing a thick line. It's about enhancing the shape you already have." She taught him to apply shadow in the crease of his eyelid, blending upward to create depth, how to line his waterline to make his eyes appear larger, and the trick to applying mascara without clumping. "Now purse your lips," she instructed, reaching for a lip liner. "Always outline first, then fill in. It gives you more control." When she finished, she stepped back, admiring her work. "Take a look." The face that stared back at him in the mirror wasn't just Caden with makeup. It was someone new, someone with softer contours, brighter eyes, and fuller lips, someone who made his heart skip. "What do you think?" Sophia asked. He began, unable to find the right words. "It's like seeing someone I've known was there all along." She smiled, understanding in her eyes. "That's how it should feel." Before he left her room that night, Sophia pressed a small makeup bag into his hands. "These are extras I don't use much. Practice when you can. Your foundation shade is different from mine. We'll get you the right one soon." "Thank you," he whispered, "for not making fun of me." She squeezed his shoulder. "That's what sisters are for." What started as a one-time lesson evolved into weekly sessions. Every Thursday evening, when their parents went out for dinner, Sophia would transform her bedroom into a sanctuary where Caden could explore this side of himself. She taught him everything: how to walk in heels without toppling over, how to sit with knees together, how to use his voice in a higher register without straining. "It's all about confidence," she explained, watching him practice walking across her room in a pair of low heels. "Don't think about the shoes. Think about how your hips move, how your shoulders should relax." 3 months into their sessions, Sophia arrived home with a shopping bag. "I got you something," she said, handing it to him. Inside was a wig of long, blonde hair, similar to his own natural sandy color but much longer, falling past the shoulders in subtle waves. "You said you wondered what you'd look like with long hair," she explained. "This way you don't have to wait years to find out." That night, with the wig carefully positioned and styled, the transformation was complete. The person who looked back from the mirror was undeniably feminine. Soft blonde hair framed a face with carefully contoured features, bringing out the natural almond shape of hazel eyes, now enhanced with subtle shadow and mascara. "I think," Sophia said softly, watching his reaction, "we need to talk about names." "Names? When you look like this, who do you see?" He studied his reflection, considering the question. "Gabriella," he said finally, the name emerging from some place deep within. "I see Gabriella." Sophia smiled. "Gabriella it is then." Their sessions continued through the changing seasons, and with each passing week, Caden spent more time as Gabriella. At first, it was just during their Thursday evenings, but soon she began transforming whenever their parents were out of the house. "You're getting better at this than I am," Sophia remarked one afternoon, watching Gabriella perfectly execute a winged eyeliner that had taken weeks to master. "I've had a good teacher," Gabriella replied, her voice softer now, practiced in the gentle cadence she'd been developing. As winter melted into spring, Sophia noticed a change. Gabriella was emerging more frequently, while Caden seemed to be retreating. Even in male clothing, there was a softness to the way he carried himself, a gentleness in his gestures that hadn't been there before. "Have you thought about going out?" Sophia asked one evening as she helped adjust the blonde wig, making sure no dark strands peeked through. "As Gabriella, I mean." The question hung in the air. Going outside would make this real in a way their private sessions hadn't. "Where would I go?" Gabriella asked, unable to hide the mixture of excitement and terror the idea provoked. "There's a small cafe downtown that's very open-minded. We could start there, just for coffee." Gabriella's fingers twisted nervously in her lap, wrinkling the fabric of the cream-colored pants she wore. "What if someone recognizes me?" "Then they recognize you," Sophia said simply. "But they probably won't. You'd be surprised how different people look when they present differently." 2 weeks later, Sophia laid a garment bag on Gabriella's bed. "I found it at that vintage shop on Maple Street. I think it's perfect for your first outing." Inside was an emerald green cocktail dress with a modest neckline and a flared skirt that would hit just above the knee. "It's beautiful," Gabriella whispered, fingers tracing over the material. "Try it on," Sophia urged. The dress fit as if it had been made for her, the color bringing out flecks of green in her hazel eyes. With her blonde hair styled in loose waves, subtle makeup enhancing her features, and low heels that added just enough height, Gabriella looked at herself in the full-length mirror and felt a surge of recognition so powerful it brought tears to her eyes. "Don't cry," Sophia warned. "You'll ruin your mascara." Gabriella laughed through her tears. "I can't help it. This is me." The cafe was busy when they arrived, the afternoon crowd filling most of the tables. Gabriella's heart pounded as they entered, her hand gripping Sophia's arm tightly. "Relax," Sophia whispered. "You look amazing. No one is staring." And it was true. No one gave them a second glance as they found a table by the window. The server approached with a friendly smile, took their order without a flicker of suspicion, and moved on to the next table. "See?" Sophia said once they were alone. "You're just another customer to them." As they sipped their coffee, Gabriella felt something unfamiliar and wonderful. The sensation of being exactly who she was meant to be, in public, without hiding. Each time someone addressed her, without pause or question, a little more tension eased from her shoulders. "I want to do this more often," she said as they walked back to the car. "Not just at home." Sophia smiled. "I thought you might say that." In the months that followed, Gabriella ventured out more frequently. Small trips at first, to the cafe, to a bookstore, to a movie theater where they sat in the dark anonymity of the back row. Each successful outing built her confidence. The blonde wig, once a disguise, began to feel like an authentic part of her. The makeup routines that had once taken hours became second nature, completed in efficient minutes. One evening, as Gabriella applied her foundation with practiced strokes, Sophia leaned against the bathroom doorframe. "Have you thought about telling Mom and Dad?" she asked quietly. The question made Gabriella's hand freeze mid-application. "I don't know if I'm ready for that." "They're going to find out eventually. Your hair is getting longer, even when you're not wearing the wig, and I've seen the hormone research on your computer." It was true. In recent weeks, Gabriella had been reading extensively about medical transition options. The wig, once necessary, now supplemented her own blonde hair, which had grown past her ears in soft waves that required increasingly creative explanations to their parents. "What if they don't accept me?" The fear that had been lurking beneath the surface emerged in a whisper. Sophia moved to sit on the edge of the bathtub. "They might not understand at first, but they love you. That hasn't changed." 2 days later, Gabriella stood before her closet, considering what to wear for the conversation that would change everything. Her fingers lingered over the emerald green dress, her first, her favorite, before selecting it. If she was going to reveal her true self, she would do so completely. Her parents were in the living room when she descended the stairs, Sophia a reassuring presence behind her. Her mother looked up first, confusion crossing her features as she took in the unfamiliar woman in the emerald dress. "Mom, Dad," Gabriella said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "There's something I need to tell you." The conversation was long, filled with questions she had anticipated and others she hadn't. There were tears, her mother's of confusion, her father's of concern, her own of relief at finally speaking her truth. But there was no rejection, no anger, just the slow dawning of understanding.
"We just want you to be happy,"
her father said finally, reaching for her hand across the coffee table.
"It might take us time to adjust, but you're our child, no matter what."
Her mother nodded, dabbing at her eyes.
"And Gabriella, it's a beautiful name."
Summer faded into autumn, and with each passing day, Gabriella's external appearance aligned more closely with her internal reality. The hormone therapy she began under a doctor's guidance gradually softened her features, redistributed weight to create subtle curves, and slowed the growth of facial hair that had once required such careful concealment. Her own blonde hair now reached her shoulders, eliminating the need for the wig that had been so essential in the beginning. The makeup routines Sophia had taught her evolved, less about creating an illusion now, more about enhancing what was naturally emerging. On a crisp October evening, Gabriella stood before the mirror in her bedroom, preparing for a dinner with friends, people who had only ever known her as Gabriella. Her fingers worked deftly, applying a light foundation to skin that had grown softer, defining eyes that seemed larger now, coloring lips that had always been full, but now seemed to belong truly to her face. The emerald dress hung in her closet, a reminder of her journey, but tonight she chose a simple black dress with a boat neckline, elegant and understated. Her blonde hair fell in natural waves around her face, catching the light as she turned. A knock at her door. Sophia entered, her smile warm with pride. "Ready to go?" she asked. Gabriella took one last look in the mirror. The reflection showed not a disguise or a creation, but simply herself, the person she had always been, now visible to the world. "I'm ready," she answered, and meant it in every possible way. The restaurant was crowded when they arrived, the maitre d' greeting them with a polite nod. "Reservation for 2? Under what name?" "Gabriella," she replied, the name falling from her lips as naturally as breath. "Gabriella Winters." They were led to a table in the center of the dining room. No hiding in corners anymore. As they settled in, a waiter approached with menus and a friendly smile. "Good evening, ladies. Can I start you with something to drink?" Such a simple interaction, yet it filled Gabriella with quiet joy. These everyday moments of acknowledgement had once seemed like impossible dreams. "You're glowing tonight," Sophia observed after the waiter departed. "It suits you." "I feel like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be," Gabriella replied. "Not just in how I look, but in everything." The evening passed in comfortable conversation, the sisters discussing work, friends, future plans. At a nearby table, a man glanced over occasionally, his interest evident but respectful. When he finally approached as they were finishing dessert, Gabriella felt a flutter of nervousness. "I'm sorry to interrupt," he said, his smile warm. "I just wanted to say you have a really incredible laugh. It lights up the room." Sophia raised an eyebrow, amused. Gabriella felt herself blush. "Thank you," she managed, the compliment settling somewhere deep and affirming. "I'm Danielle," he continued. "I don't usually do this, but would you like to get coffee sometime?" For a moment, old fears threatened to surface. What if he found out? What if he reacted badly? But Gabriella pushed them aside. Her journey had taught her that authenticity was worth the risk. "I'd like that," she said, accepting the card he offered. "I'm Gabriella." As Daniel returned to his table, Sophia leaned forward, eyes dancing with excitement. "Look at you, getting asked out in restaurants. My little sister is growing up." The phrase, "little sister," washed over Gabriella like a warm wave. It wasn't the first time Sophia had referred to her this way, but tonight it resonated differently, not as a courtesy or a practice, but as a simple statement of truth. "Thank you," Gabriella said suddenly, reaching across the table to grasp her sister's hand. "For everything. For seeing me before I could see myself." Sophia squeezed her hand in return. "I didn't do anything special. I just helped you find what was already there." Walking home through the autumn evening, arm in arm with her sister, Gabriella felt a completeness she had once believed impossible. The journey hadn't been easy, and there would be challenges ahead, but she faced them now as her authentic self. The emerald dress hanging in her closet would always remind her of the first steps on this path, a treasured memento of becoming. But it was the woman wearing the black dress tonight, with her natural blonde hair and confident stride, who had truly emerged from those tentative beginnings. Not a disguise, not a version, but simply and completely Gabriella. Winter arrived with a quiet snowfall that transformed the city into a wonderland of white. Gabriella stood at her bedroom window, watching the flakes drift down in the glow of streetlights. 6 months had passed since that first venture out in the emerald dress, nearly a year since Sophia had caught her in the bathroom with smeared makeup and terrified eyes. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Daniel. They'd been dating for 2 months now, their coffee date having evolved into dinners, movies, long walks in the park. She had told him her story on their 3rd date, heart pounding with fear of rejection. Instead, he had listened, asked thoughtful questions, and then simply taken her hand across the table.
"Thank you for trusting me with that," he'd said. "It doesn't change how I feel about you."
Now his message made her smile. "Still on for the holiday party tomorrow? Can't wait to see you." Tomorrow would be another first, meeting his work colleagues, being introduced as his girlfriend. The thought brought a flutter of nerves, but no longer of fear. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Sophia entered, carrying 2 mugs of hot chocolate topped with whipped cream. "I thought we could use a sister night," she said, settling onto the window seat beside Gabriella. "It's been a while since we've had one." They had been busy lately. Gabriella with her new relationship and advancing career, Sophia with her promotion and growing social circle. But the bond that had formed during those secret Thursday sessions remained unbreakable. "I have something for you," Sophia said, placing her mug down and retrieving a small gift bag from her pocket. "An early Christmas present." Inside, Gabriella found a delicate silver necklace with a pendant in the shape of an emerald dress. "To remember where the journey began," Sophia explained. "It's perfect," Gabriella whispered, immediately fastening it around her neck. The pendant rested just below her collarbone, catching the soft light from her bedside lamp. "Do you ever miss him?" Sophia asked suddenly. "Caden, I mean." The question took Gabriella by surprise. She considered it carefully, touching the pendant. "I don't think I can miss someone I never really was," she said finally. "Caden was a disguise I wore because I didn't know I could be Gabriella." Sophia nodded, understanding in her eyes. "You're happier now. Anyone can see it." "I am," Gabriella agreed. "I'm just me. Finally." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the snow continue to fall, blanketing the world in quiet transformation. Nature's own reminder that change, while sometimes slow and challenging, could create something beautiful. The following evening, Gabriella stood before her mirror, making final adjustments to her outfit for Daniel's holiday party. She had chosen a deep blue dress that hugged her curves, real curves now, developed through months of hormone therapy. Her blonde hair, longer than ever, was styled in an elegant updo that showcased the silver necklace Sophia had given her. Her makeup was subtle, foundation to even her skin tone, a touch of blush to enhance her cheeks, mascara to define her naturally long lashes, and a soft rose lipstick. The elaborate contouring techniques she had once relied on were largely unnecessary now. Hormones had softened her jawline and rounded her features in ways makeup could only approximate. "You look stunning," Sophia said from the doorway, dressed in her own party attire. "Daniel won't know what hit him." Gabriella smiled, a quiet confidence in her expression that had been absent a year ago. "I feel stunning. That's the difference." Daniel was waiting when they arrived at the party venue, his face lighting up as he spotted her. He crossed the room in quick strides, greeting her with a kiss that lingered just long enough to make Sophia clear her throat dramatically. "You look beautiful," he murmured. "Ready to meet everyone?" Gabriella took a deep breath and nodded. "Ready." The evening passed in a blur of introductions, conversations, laughter. Daniel's hand remained a steady presence at the small of her back, his pride in introducing her evident in his voice. Not once did she feel the need to explain or justify herself. She was simply Gabriella, Daniel's girlfriend, enjoying a holiday party like anyone else. Near midnight, as the celebration was winding down, Daniel led her onto a small balcony overlooking the city. The snow had stopped, leaving the world crystalline and still beneath a clear night sky. "I have something for you," he said, reaching into his pocket. "It's not quite a Christmas gift, more of a celebration." He handed her a small velvet box. Inside was a pair of emerald earrings, the stones catching the moonlight. "Sophia mentioned that emerald green was special to you," he explained. "Something about the first dress that really made you feel like yourself." Tears pricked at Gabriella's eyes as she touched the earrings. That he had spoken with her sister, that he had remembered such a detail, that he understood what it meant to her. It all combined into a wave of emotion. "They're perfect," she whispered. "Thank you." He helped her put them on, his fingers gentle against her skin. When they were in place, he stepped back to admire them. "Beautiful," he said softly. "Just like you." As they stood together in the winter moonlight, Gabriella felt a sense of rightness wash over her. The journey that had begun with borrowed makeup and secret sessions had led her here, to a life lived authentically, to relationships built on truth, to a future full of possibilities. The emerald earrings caught the light as she turned to Daniel, her smile reflecting all the joy she had discovered in becoming herself. Not a transformation from one person to another, but rather the emergence of who she had always been. Gabriella. Complete. Authentic. Home.
Thanks for watching my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!